All right, and welcome to Tripod. This is a pilot tripod episode. My name is Ross Herosian. I am the founder and CEO of Tricycle Creative, a marketing agency out of Austin, Texas. And I am joined by my co-host, Chris Slezak.
Hello.
Hello. So this is where I'm supposed to be like, man, that open was pretty great. So thank you for doing that open. It sounded great.
Thank you in advance.
Yeah, because it's not going to run on this episode, right?
Right.
You sneaky
It's
bastard.
absolutely not happening.
Perfect. So what is tripod? So here's my I guess our really vision for what this podcast is going to be all about. It's designed to help entrepreneurs be better marketers. And so how are we going to do that? Well, every episode we're going to take news, tips, interviews, and provide commentary from the worlds of marketing, media, and miscellaneous. And miscellaneous is where you come in, Chris.
Wonderful.
It's your field of expertise.
Right.
Miscellaneous.
Yeah. If it were Jeopardy, this category would be potpourri.
You are killer at the last round of trivia. You are not to be messed with when it comes to the last round of any trivia competition when it is potpourri.
That's right.
Yeah. So, I also want to take a moment to talk a little bit about how Chris and I know each other. We're going to kind of pull back the curtain here, remove which wall is it that you remove when you let people in on what's happening, Chris?
Well, I think fourth, but if it's just audio, I guess third. I'm not really sure.
I feel like I need you to research that for the show notes.
Fair enough. That'll be my
Which
next.
wall do we remove? So we're going to take down one of those walls, either the third or the fourth, or maybe both walls. Chris and I go way back.
This is not a renovation podcast, by the way. But we are going for an open floor.
You know what? Concept. We'll see how it goes. So Chris and I go way back. We went to college together. Not going to share the year, not because I'm extremely old, but I'm old enough where I'm not going to just share that year. But Chris and I went to college together. We worked at our college radio station together, made many shows that we are now too ashamed to listen to. Stayed friends, and then ended up reuniting when I moved to Austin, Texas a couple years ago, and we've been working together since I started Tricycle Creative in 2018. And we're kind of combining our forces here for this podcast. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get a lot out of it. And so without further ado, I'm going to move on to our first subject.
Hey.
So there we go. So our first subject comes from the world of marketing. And this one's pretty big. This happened recently. The German regulators have actually outlawed Facebook's entire ad business. So that's a pretty big, major move. Now, Chris, you're on Facebook, right?
I am.
Right. Yeah. I am also on Facebook. Many people, I would argue maybe billions are on Facebook. And the thing about it is that privacy advocates are really big into that Facebook's not being transparent enough with what data it has and then essentially what it does with it. And most people, they feel, don't understand this giant kind of what you're giving up to, look at puppy photos and look whatever it is you do on Facebook, right? This huge trade-off of privacy and information that's happening under the hood. So the German Federal Cartel Office, which is their antitrust regulator, but that sounds like
their FDA.
Yeah, totally. Nonetheless, it's their antitrust regulator, ruled Facebook was exploiting consumers by requiring them to agree to this kind of data collection in order to have an account, and has prohibited their whole ad business going forward.
So Facebook just cannot add, no advertisements on Facebook.
And now there's an appeal process. Because first of all, for that ruling to come down, I don't even know how that is so transformational and disruptive to the Facebook platform. It's not like Facebook, to my knowledge, has a ad-free platform that they can be like, oh, well, okay, Germany said that we can't have ads, and we'll just roll this out tomorrow. So there is an appeal process. There's an appeal time period. It'll be really interesting to see what comes of this, because this could lay the groundwork for, they don't, like I said, to my knowledge, they don't have this platform that's free of ads, but they may have to design something like that.
I mean, I would argue that I may possibly pay for one if they had one here.
See, that's the interesting concept. And I find it interesting you say that, because here's the thing. There has been kicked around for many years, and it's been rumored and then denied, this idea that Facebook may, because of things like this, may go to this paid platform and unpaid platform. And the unpaid platform, you essentially are giving them more data, right? So you're agreeing to more loose privacy gathering or data gathering by Facebook.
You'll and then pay for it with privacy, essentially.
Yes, exactly. And then the paid platform, when you say it like that, it sounds so much worse. But yes, you're 100% right. And then the paid platform may even be ad less, right?
Sure.
And you have more privacy or control. So if you were given those two options, would you pay? Would you pay for would you pay for a Facebook platform that had very strict privacy regulation or control around it?
I mean, I would think that I'd be more willing to pay for the privacy protection than I would for an ad-free experience,
And I think the tricky thing there is, I think a privacy advocate would be like, you shouldn't have to.
Sure.
Right? You shouldn't. And to even play devil's advocate, if you were really concerned about it, you would get off of the platform.
Right. It's like paying a guy to not spy on you in the locker room, because you're like, I shouldn't have to pay you to not peek at me, but nobody said you had to come to this locker room. Nobody said you had to get on Facebook.
Yeah, I know. And that's the interesting thing. And I think it's going to be, we'll see what kind of shakes out from this. And it comes at an interesting time, because Facebook is also dealing with I don't know what we want to rate this podcast, because I'm probably going to end up cursing, but but this sounds dirtier than it is. Facebook is dealing with an ad load challenge.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let that simmer for a second, just so. Okay. And what that means is the demand is outpacing the supply. So what Facebook has done this past year is, with their acquisition of Instagram, they have spun up a lot of their ads and have moved them onto the Instagram platform. I mean, to the point where the Instagram this past year was giant. It was billions of ad dollars went to Instagram this past year. And they've also been diversifying their ad types. And so one of the things that they've been doing, because stories have been so heavily consumed, moving ads into stories and figuring out ways. So I manage ads for a lot of our clients.
Yeah.
And what they do is, you can do kind of one ad, and then they make it so that it then scales. So I can put, let's just use an easy example, like an image and some copy. Okay, that'll go on desktop mobile. It'll go on mobile Facebook. It'll go on desktop Facebook. It'll go on mobile Facebook. It will go into the Facebook display network, which is people who put little modules on their site and other partner things. It'll go into, and now it'll go into Instagram. It'll go into the stories. They'll repurpose it so it goes, in the feeds also. They will repurpose it so it will go into, and here's one that's coming this year. I'm going to tell you right now. So it goes into Messenger more. So brace yourself for a terrible Messenger experience in the year 2019.
So it's just the digital version. I mean, it's like spam all over again, right? It's just junk mail.
I mean, that's the thing. The problem is that marketers right now in 2019, they are being lured by the siren song of open rate for Messenger. That open rate it trounces email open rate, which is actually really good. People shouldn't give up on email, but that's a whole separate subject podcast. But Messenger open trounces email open. But I think that's a false thing because I barely use Messenger,
Same here.
right?
Yeah.
But if something pops up in it, I click into it, if for no other reason than to get rid of the freaking notification,
100%.
right? So
And also, well, and like I open Messenger because if somebody's messaging me, more than likely I need to see it because otherwise I have nothing in there.
Yes. And to my knowledge, I know I am, I am the marketing expert of recourse among the two of us. There is no mechanism. I'm sure you can report things, but I don't think it's as easy as with email where you can say, this is spam. Right? That this is spam. Now, Facebook they have put into place harder policies for pages to mass message people. Thank God. But that doesn't apply to ads. Ads, they'll still serve up into Messenger. And keep in mind, Facebook owns WhatsApp too.
Now, do the same rules apply to just a sponsored page? If I were to just go on and sponsor one of my posts, does that?
So you do. So in this situation, you're a page. You post something, and are you talking about a boost?
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, do these same rules, applied to that as far as paid content? I mean, is that considered an ad? I guess
currently a boost is interesting because it's a hybrid. It lives in between. But the thing about a boost is not giving you the scalability of where that can go. You have already put it on the Facebook platform, so you're kind of like shackled in to the fact that this is going to live on the Facebook platform. It'll probably live on Facebook mobile and Facebook desktop. But outside of that, a boost by itself will only boost on those platforms. I think that's a really good point, though. I mean, I see that potentially changing this next year, or maybe I'm not even next year, this year. I mean, I think that'd be an interesting move. But again, I think that the dangerous thing about doing that with Facebook is that if they're dealing with an ad load challenge, boosts they push boosts. They're one click, you're done. Whereas with ads, like I use what used to be called Power Editor. So you have all of these like levels and pieces and ad types and all this stuff. They really want like the layman's person to use boost. Sure. And if they're dealing with an inventory problem, if they want to continue to push boosts, that's going to chew up, again, that inventory that they probably want the professional marketer or the agencies like me who are using Power Editor. They want us to be dipping in the hundreds to thousands a month that we dip in versus you doing $5 for your boost.
Sure.
Right. But I think that's the difficult thing that the what they have to kind of toe and what they're figuring out. So what does this mean for our small business entrepreneurs? I think what this means is, again, be on the lookout for probably Facebook pushing you to do more Messenger ads. I think when it comes to doing ads on any platform, you need to be very thoughtful of what is it that you're trying to accomplish? What are the things that you're trying to do? What are your goals? Because the goals should dictate the type of ad that you run. And in some cases, with what Messenger ads I have run, right? I think that people are still somewhat gun shy to really engage with messenger ads. But Facebook does a really good job of pushing and putting in front of you just to death, trying to lead you down the particular path. So again, be thoughtful of your goals. Go with the ad set that works best with that. And I think you could probably anticipate a whole slew of new ad types coming down the pipe for 2019 that'll be leveraged across all of the platforms that Facebook owns. And the way Facebook's going, who knows? They'll probably end up eating up, and acquiring other outlets and even other social networks.
Unless you live in Germany.
Unless you live in Germany. And last point on this, there was one other piece which I love, which I will close this subject with. I didn't also tee up with our tripod show. We're going to try to keep each subject to 10 minutes. We're a little over here, but I think that's important. Bite size, small, accessible. So here's my last piece. There is California, I don't know if it's proper legislation, but it has been brought up that Facebook should actually pay people for the data it collects on them because it contributes so heavily to their own revenue and profit. Very interesting. You almost maybe look at that as a social/technology dividend. I think it's an interesting concept, and I think it probably is a concept, an idea for another show. So our next topic comes to us from the world of media. And this one's been really interesting, really bubbling up. This has not been a great year PR-wise for YouTube. But what they're working on now is they are attempting to remove conspiracy content from their platform.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So now here's the tricky thing with this. Conspiracy content doesn't like actually violate YouTube community guidelines. So YouTube can't remove it actually. They can't actually boot it off the platform because it doesn't actually violate any of their guidelines. I guess you could say their terms of usage.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's been a ton of stuff that circulates a lot that obviously they are not pleased with. And here's the interesting thing. This is the Frankenstein's monster that they created because they built the algorithm that is helping to drive conspiracy content to get so recommended. So they're really trying to drive and redo the algorithm so that conspiracy content does not come up algorithmically in recommended videos. And that's a humongous undertaking. And the reason why this happens is because conspiracy video content, they tend to draw a lot of engagement, whether it's watch time, shares, comments.
I was going to say the comment section.
The comment section. And that's one day maybe we'll do an episode on the algorithms of all the social networks, but they all are very similar, right? They have weighted factors, right? Comments and things like that. Watch time on YouTube is huge. It's a huge component. And so what they're trying to do and what they've documented is, let me see here, I have it noted down, what they're going to try to target. First, videos promoting a phony miracle cure for a serious illness. So you're not going to be able to get that Peter Popoff's miracle water that you've been needing. So sorry about that.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Here's one that's very interesting. Videos claiming the earth is flat. Very specific.
Yeah.
They don't like flat earth. I get it. And then videos that make blatantly false claims about historic events. They actually cite 9/11 in this. So conspiracy theories tied to historic events.
I see.
Probably including moon landing, things like that.
JFK.
Totally, etc.
Yeah.
So this is not, I don't know if you know this. This is also, while it's not a home remodeling show, it's also not a conspiracy theory show. But there were some conspiracy theories that are kind of marketing related that I I don't know. I thought of and I even saw when I was looking up other like conspiracy theories because I hate to say it, but I've lost an afternoon or so when I
Oh,
used to play looking at conspiracy
yes.
videos.
I was gonna say, while I'm not necessarily, I'm definitely not a like JFK conspiracy theorist, but the theories are pretty interesting.
They're interesting, right? You're not even listening to me right now. You're watching a conspiracy theory.
How do I
So
know? Yeah, how do
I
I know?
know what you're doing. I That's my conspiracy theory actually. Um, so I'm gonna throw some out. You tell me if you remember them,
Okay.
believe, not believe. So New Coke. Have you heard the conspiracy theory behind New Coke?
Yes. So Coke purposefully changed their formula
Yep.
so that then when people complained and
Yep.
wanted to go back, they could alter the original
Yep.
ingredients to something,
Yeah.
I guess, cheaper.
I don't
And
even
then
know
be
if
like,
cheap.
"That's the old one," and people are like, "Yeah, that's the one I remember," and it what maybe wasn't the same that it used to be.
Some
Is
yeah.
that
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
right?
No, you nailed it. Nailed it. That they made some shoddy product only then to come back and be like, hey, you know what? We're your savior. Here's the good stuff. That's, like, yeah, but you gave us the crap. You gave us.
Right.
And now I do find it funny though. The I looked this up and the Coca-Cola president, I think at the time, he his comment to that was, the truth is we're not that dumb and we're not that smart.
Perfect.
I mean, I think that's
That's
pretty
kind
good.
of how I feel like a lot of conspiracies unravel.
I agree. I agree. Here's another good one. This one was new. This one was actually one that was on YouTube and was causing some issue. The Chuck E. Cheese pizza conspiracy.
Do what?
Okay. All right. You're sitting down, right?
Yeah.
This is gonna flip your world.
Okay.
Okay. The conspiracy theory is that Chuck E. Cheese takes leftover uneaten slices of pizza and takes them and puts them on their pizza buffet because people noticed that the slices of pizza on the buffet were different sizes.
Well, is that a conspiracy or is that just one location's poor business practice?
I think that's a tomato situation, if you don't mind me saying. Here's another one. This one rocked my world. The Berenstain Bears conspiracy theory. Are you familiar with this one?
Oh, are we about to get into the Mandela effect? Is that what we're about to talk about?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Berenstain Bears. Yeah, look up Mandela effect. Maybe on YouTube. You probably still have time if you're at home. You have time to still find conspiracy videos on YouTube, so you can look that up. But it's this theory that at some point we jumped. And you keep me honest here, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
We like jumped timelines, dimensions maybe, and some things changed. One of them, I believe, was the position of New Zealand.
Okay.
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 One of them, Nelson Mandela.
Yeah. He did or didn't die
Yep.
in the 90s.
Correct. And then the most impactful one, obviously, is Berenstain Bears. Now, I remember this was a kid's book. It was a family of bears. I remember it as Berenstain. But in reality, the reality at least we're in right now, it is actually Berenstain Bears.
Right. And I think the key word is as far as you remember. And I feel like that's where this whole Mandela effect as a whole falls apart. It's just what is more likely that we are in an alternate timeline or you just don't really remember things from your childhood like you thought you did.
Okay.
Now I get that the conspiracy part is that all of us don't remember it that way. And I guess that's where it's born.
Chris, here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
If I don't remember Berenstain Bears correctly, then How am I to even be sure that I met Phil Collins when I was at Disney World when I was a kid?
Yeah.
How do I know, Chris?
Which timeline did you meet Phil Collins?
Which timeline did I meet Phil Collins?
Did he have hair?
He was wearing a hat. But I was also
Interesting.
wearing a hat and I didn't have hair.
Interesting.
I mean, that
Very
was the photo.
interesting.
So I don't know. Okay, so what
Are
is
you
this?
disappearing from the photo? Like Back
I'm
to the
dusting.
Future?
I'm dusting like Avengers. I'm being
I don't
dusted
feel
over
so
here.
good.
I don't feel so
I don't feel so good,
No,
Phil.
Chris, don't. I need you to edit this. I need you don't go dying on me. Okay, so what does this mean for the entrepreneur looking to be a better marketer? Well, if you do conspiracy videos, you're going to run up to a problem. However, interestingly enough, Amazon and Hulu still featuring and recommending conspiracy videos. So you have some new outlets there if you don't want to go on YouTube, I suppose. But I think it's also the kind of 10,000-foot view for me for entrepreneurs on this one is that understanding that like none of these platforms are your friend. And that's hard for me to say considering I make a lot of I make a living off of working in these platforms, but it's important for people to understand that I think you need to have a very well thought out overarching strategy, right? That leverages the strengths and your audiences on all the different platforms because they can indiscriminately make decisions that will absolutely rock your world if you have all your chips in one thing, if you go all in on one platform. But that doesn't mean you have to be or on one platform. It doesn't mean you have to be on all platforms. It's just about being thoughtful and strategic. And that's one thing that I work a lot with our clients at Tricycle Creative is to create these very kind of thoughtful, well-rounded plans and strategies. Because a lot of people think they have to be on all of them. It's not the case. But it's just about understanding the strengths and weaknesses, not only of the platforms, but of the respective audiences and who you're talking to. So I think that's a biggie. The other biggie is that it is definitely Berenstein Bears. All right, so our third and final topic for this, our pilot episode of Tripod, the Tricycle Creative podcast. This is where I hand over the reins to you, Chris, which is dangerous because I literally don't know what subject you picked, and you're pulling from the world of Miscellaneous. So I'm just going to sit back and I guess just see where you take this. So fire away, my friend.
All right. So I decided that I wanted to talk about album sales in music. I am in a band that is currently recording an album, and a constant topic is should we even bother with an entire album? Like, why not just release songs individually? Just post them, post them on Spotify, post them on iTunes, whatever, and even bother with the full packaged album. I personally am streaming more often than not. It feels dirty to do it.
Does it really? I mean, I'm not a musician in the least, aside from the bell that I play during our show. So does it feel like icky?
It does. It does. Especially if it's an artist. I mean, well, I'll say that it's hard to stream music that I haven't previously purchased because, and I kind of wanted to turn this around to a question to you, which is, do you still buy albums? Is ultimately what I want to know.
So the short answer is no, but let me tell you what I used to do.
Okay.
If there was an album that I really liked or an artist I really liked,
Mm-hmm.
and wanted, I guess, to support in what I thought was a meaningful way, I would buy their album on iTunes, and even if I had access to it on Spotify. I mean,
Sure.
I used to do this, but I'll say this, like, I stopped doing that probably 3 years ago, and it's, I don't even know if it was a cost thing. I hate to say this, but it was kind of an Apple thing.
Interesting.
Like, once Apple went to Apple Music, their streaming service, I feel like they mucked up. I mean, it's a move they had to make, but I feel like it was more of the user experience in purchasing music completely went out the door, right?
Right.
And iTunes became this bloated thing. I can't even figure out how to, like,
Not at all.
navigate iTunes anymore. It's a terrible mess. It used to be this beautiful thing. Now it's Winamp. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Of course, on the miscellaneous one about music is the one I curse, but it's terrible.
Well, and so
It's,
if I could throw some data at you,
yeah.
data at you.
Whoa.
According to Rolling Stone,
Mhm.
in 2018, album sales fell 18.2% from the previous year, and then song sales fell 28.8% just over the course of a year, while streaming for audio and video went up 35.4%.
I'd be interested, and I don't know if you have this in your data, to understand the financial ramifications of those numbers. Like, did the revenue from streaming for artists fill that gap of
Right.
music purchases? I would wager it probably did.
I don't. Yeah, I can't imagine it did. What I can tell you is that according to Billboard, they have decided that 1,250 streams equals one album sale, and that's if the listener is actually paying for it.
Well, I've definitely paid Lord Huron this year. That much I know. But
So
other than that,
do you pay for a streaming service? Like, do you pay for
I
Spotify
pay for
Premium?
Spotify.
You do.
And I have a family plan, so I pay for like 2 other people's Spotify accounts too.
Gotcha. See, I pay for my wife's Spotify account, and then I also pay for my own iTunes account or my own Apple Music account.
I also pay.
So that way, between the two of us, we've got access to all of it.
Yep. I also pay for SiriusXM because I'm loyal to the core.
Right.
My old company. I pay for that. A little bit different, but now that they've acquired Pandora,
is that right? I didn't realize that.
It got done deal. They've acquired Pandora.
That's interesting.
So I'm going to tell you, like, they're going to move into, and what they're looking at Pandora as, they're looking at Pandora as the modern day equivalent FM radio. Think about it. It's free.
Yeah.
Everyone gets it on their phone.
Yeah.
It has ads on it. And so they're I don't know. I have no insider data, but I would assume that they're looking at that as very much a nice way. And for what it's worth, I know their license prohibited them from doing a lot of the things that Spotify does. But now that they have Pandora, not the case.
That might actually bring me back to Pandora. I used to listen to Pandora all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess once I got Apple Music, moved away from it, but that sort of takes some of the mystery out of it. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to Apple Music flipping through like I'm flipping through my own CD library, and just at a loss of what to listen to. And not even remembering that, oh yeah, I could just put on Pandora and let it decide,
Yeah, that's
for that matter, Apple's got radio function. I don't ever use them, Yeah,
Spotify's radio function is not great, which is surprising with how much data they have. Now, I want to go all the way back to your initial thing, your quandary, if you will.
Yeah.
Whether to record an album.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, actually, before I get to that, there is one other thing. Vinyl sales.
Yeah.
Definitely a factor.
Right.
I think that's probably in and of itself a conversation for another day, but vinyl is huge and rapidly growing.
Right, even if you
Just
don't listen to it. I mean,
yeah,
it's a thing to have.
it is
You sell the
expensive to
vinyl and
make.
you give the download card, right?
It
I mean,
totally, and it is expensive to make, but the margins on it are very good. Okay,
def
so back to your should you record an album? I don't love the fact that people maybe are don't do albums, that they do the I thought I thought like in college or even like, years ago that I would love that model. I was like, oh, it means you get a song a month, right? From a band or whatever it is, right?
sure.
A song you get more music. They should be doing it that way. I really like the experience though of listening to an album. Like the fact that it's kind of like a time capsule for a band. The
Totally.
fact that an album is for all the collective musicians and voices and creativity, it's like you catch lightning in a bottle for that time period, and and you tell your stories through the music. And I really, really like, and that's not to say that even an album has to be like, I don't know, like a prog rock album where all the songs, it
Right,
doesn't have to
a
be.
high
Yeah,
concept,
it
yeah.
doesn't have to be Coheed and Cambria. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't.
You mean we don't have to do the,
You don't have
corresponding
to.
comic book?
You don't have to. I'd love it if you did, but you don't have to.
Sure.
But just the fact that like this is the collection of songs that the artist has curated to go together, and I also listen to albums in order, but even just if you don't listen to them in order, at least these like go together, right?
Yeah.
I hate that in Spotify when it's like, oh, here's a list of new stuff that's come out Friday. It's always like a song. I always click through to hope it's an album, and it rarely is.
Yeah.
I don't like that, you know? But I'm also older. I don't know.
Sure.
I'm
I
in
mean,
my 30s. I'm in my mid 30s. I'm 36 years old, all right? Let's just get it out there, all right? So, I don't know I don't know how different my consumption habits of music are versus I mean a 20 something year old or a teenager. I mean, like, obviously it's got to be different than a teenager.
yeah, I would imagine.
It's got to be weird. Being a teenager, they've grown up in an era where you never paid for music. Think about that. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and like I said, hence kind of why I feel guilty when I don't pay for an album that I didn't already own. But it's funny, I do go through, and if it's something I purchased back in, 94, and I'm like, well, I
Mhm.
still have the album, I used to have that on cassette. I feel like I have some sort of right of
Yeah.
ownership to be like, well, I used to have the cassette. At one point in time, I paid for this, so I
Mhm.
will listen to it, ad infinitum for free.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know, man. Like it's really hard, and if this segment is just about if you guys should do an album or do songs throughout, like I don't know. I think so. One of my friends, he's also in a band, and we've done a little bit of work on things like this, right?
Mhm.
And you know, I I think you have to now think about ways. It used to be the music was enough. Like music is like the most one of the most important things to me. I listen to it all day long while I work. I came from working in radio and working with friends in the same office, and we would have essentially like a communal playlist, and we'd rock it. There was a lot of Steve Winwood. Ghostbusters
As you
by
do.
Ray Parker Jr. was on
Yeah.
there. And I'm telling you, when 3 o'clock rolls around, bustin' makes you feel good. You got to do it. All right. But I just I don't know, man. Like I think I love the idea of trying to figure out what's the value added. I think vinyl does that partially, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can do that download code. What's his name from oh god. The White Stripes.
Yeah. Jack White.
Thank you. He is doing bananas things with vinyl.
Oh yeah.
He did one I saw, or someone did, where you can, I don't know how it works. And this is rare for me to say that, right? I just don't like, like you play the vinyl and then like a hologram or something comes up above it.
I think he also did one where you play it and it destroys itself as it plays.
Yes, he did. But like,
Which is, yeah.
so
I mean,
here's,
but that's just novelty.
yeah, you're right.
But novelty sells. I mean,
But I think it's kind of like, I don't know. Part of it, if it's novelty, it's like, is it novelty if you're in on the joke?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
one Backstreet Boys. One could argue they were a novelty, but you know what? They rode that to the bank. They were in on it.
Sure.
You know? So I think what this means really for our entrepreneurial friends out there listening, I think this is really a testament to innovation. I think this is talking a lot about that, with a lot of, I think, with the people who listen to this and even my own and Tricycle's clients, these are small businesses, medium-sized businesses. They do what they do it well. And to take giant innovation steps, I think, in some cases unnecessary, in some cases just not doable. But I think it's something that, all entrepreneurs should spend time on. Think about what's the thing that makes me irrelevant, which is scary as shit to think about.
Yeah.
Right?
Because the list is so long.
It's so long. It's so long. So what are the things that make me irrelevant, or what market changes could make me irrelevant? And then what could I do about that? And then what could I maybe start to do about that today? I am a big believer with my clients. A lot of them, when we go through our initial like consulting phase, we do this kind of brainstorming type session. And they tell me a lot of things about a lot of issues they may have that they're aware of. And I say, it's a good thing to be aware of it. And I'm a huge believer in getting out in front of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's a problem, or if that's something you see in a competitor, like, let's get out in front of it. Like, let's talk about that thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to call out and be a jerk about it, or even call out the competitor by name. But like, if you see something constantly happening with your competition, and it's not what you do, and it frustrates you, right? Then speak directly to the antithesis of that and what it is that you do that makes you different. That's the thing. Will it resonate with everyone? No. But you don't want to resonate with everyone. I don't want everyone in the world to be Tricycle Creative's clients. Because some people annoy me. Sorry, bro. Some people I don't want to work with.
I can take a hint.
Listen, Chris, that's not, I'm glad that you did, because this whole podcast was a ruse. That was the only way I knew how to tell you that I didn't want to talk to you or work with you anymore.
And get it on record.
This is, yeah, but you're recording. So, okay, here's the deal. Could you edit this, but just send it to me so I have it for my records?
Right.
And I'll put it in your file, your termination file. That was a great subject, Chris. Fantastic stuff.